efforts from everyone in the lineup. Do you get much more than that?
Boy, that was pretty impressive, and across the board. I mean, a good night for George. Obviously, Moss had a spectacular night. You know, Reddick. I think Reddick and Moss might have had a homer game each against Boston last time too. So sometimes when you play your old team, it's nice to do some good things offensively.
A game like this, do you is it easier for you to make decisions on who's coming out?
No, today won't affect anything as far as who's coming.
Bob, two quick ones. One, House Donaldson, and two, Cook is known as a ground ball pitcher. You guys are able to get the ball in the air against him. How come? Right.
Well, his ball was elevated today for him. That's not a typical game for him. And I think, like most ground ball pitchers, sinker ball pitchers, early in the game, you know, you take stock on whether or not he's getting ground balls or not, and there were a lot of balls in the air, and that's not a typical game for him. As far as Josh goes, it's a right hip flexor. It's day to day. Whether or not he's available tomorrow, I'm not sure yet, but he's a pretty tough kid.
As many runs as you scored, I mean, when McCarthy started the game, he got 2 runners on. Right. Each of the first 2 innings, he was able to get out of it, and that kind of touched it off. I mean, you talk about how he pitched tonight. Yeah,
I think that maybe a key play in the game was the pick Steven made at second base. You know, Moss makes the play, tags first, and throws the ball to second. And Steven makes a nice pick and gets the play, and you know, now we get out of there what looked to be, you know, first inning for guys like Mac and good starters. You know, you try to get them before you know, they get into their rhythm, and it looked like, you know, the first 2 innings he was giving up some hits, but then settled down nicely, and you know, just for the fact that they fouled a lot of balls off and got his pitch count out, you know, certainly could have probably finished that inning, but at that point in time in the game with the lead we had, I don't want to overextend him as far as pitches go, but recovered very nicely after a little bit of a shaky start.
You talk about Kataris' night. I mean, he had a career night, both home runs and RBIs.
Yeah, you know, when you come to a new team and you know, you want to get acclimated and part of it, and I think games like this go a long way in making you feel like you're part of it and feel comfortable with your teammates. He has already, but I think when you have that kind of a production on a particular game, you just, you know, it's an easier transition to feel like you've been here for a while.
You talked a little bit about earlier about putting Moss and Gomes in the lineup. How impressed are you with their contributions, especially because they don't play every day?
Yeah, we try to get them their best matchups, and today, you know, was one where we were trying to get him a good matchup. And in Johnny's case, he hadn't played in 4 days, and that usually doesn't happen for him. And then to get a righty on top of it, and both of them were instrumental early on in driving in runs and getting us a lead. And then, you know, in Moss's case, that's probably one of the, I don't know that he's had better nights at the big leagues than that. So, you know, we try to match up, and those guys are a big part of it, and they've been big parts of, you know, where we've been this year at certain times. They've been very instrumental in producing runs. So, you know, it's not shocking to see that they have big nights.
Moss hits the ball hard, we know that. That ball on the second deck, is that #1 on the list for this season, do you think?
Right up there. I think we hit some balls in Minnesota in that series. Cespedes went in the upper deck to the opposite field. For him? He hit a couple he went in the third deck in Colorado. He's got that kind of power. But that probably the ball he hit in Colorado in that one, he may tell you that was the hardest hit ball he's hit this year.
Seems like these past few games you guys have been adding on late, which previously had been kind of a struggle. How encouraging is that to see, especially, you know, down the stretch? It
is, and it was a struggle for us early in the year. And you know, when you get a starting pitcher out of the game and you get into the, you know, 11th and 12th pitchers on the staff, those are the guys you should try to take advantage. Now they have some good pitchers there, and this is, you know, not typical of what they do. Every one of those guys that came in the game, and they were good pitchers. So, but it's something that we've been trying to stress and work on and make sure we are, you know, focus and the intensity of our bats are as good in the middle of the game as they are late in the game. We've had a lot of really, really intense late game at bats this year, and we're trying to keep that over the course of a full game.
Bob, I know you're sort of the philosophy that tomorrow's a clean slate, a new day, but can a game like this give a team momentum going into the final month and the winning streak you're on?
Well, I think it's more that. I mean, you're going to have a couple of games a season like this So, you know, you try to ride the momentum waves when you're playing well, and you try to separate when you're not playing well. So I think the fact that we came off the road and we had a nice road trip, we swung the bats well late in that trip, probably lend for some momentum today. But like you said, you know, it's a clean slate tomorrow, and we need to take those at-bats into the game tomorrow. But I think that the fact that we are winning some games and have a little bit of a winning streak probably contributed to tonight.
Kind of along those lines, you're not going to score, well, you're probably not going to score 20 runs every night, but holding them to 2, again, just in the big picture, the job that your pitching staff has done, especially recently and really over the course of the season, is that kind of more really what you need to count on? Well,
you know, it's the farther you get into seasons, and you know, pitching is going to rule. So that's been our strength all year. We've had good pitching all year, and I think the numbers would suggest that. So, you know, in games like that for pitchers, when you do have a big lead, it's important you go out there and throw strikes and not put people on base. But it's also important that you try not to pitch to the score of the game, other than just throwing strikes. You want to keep the intensity and get outs on a consistent basis.
Would you say you're pretty happy where the offense is right now, and do you want to see anything more happen with it, or is this fine where it's at?
I think based on where we've been this season, the offense has been pretty good here the last couple of months, and certainly here during this stretch. So I don't know that I can ask for much more than 20 runs.
I think you impressed the Petaluma kids tonight.
Good. Hopefully they stayed for the whole game and got to see the whole show. It was a good night for us.